The vast expanse of space stretched out before them, an endless ocean of stars twinkling in the inky void. To most, the beauty of the cosmos was a reminder of humanity's insignificance, a humbling testament to the boundless mysteries that lay beyond the reach of their understanding. But for Captain Lena Corvin and her crew aboard the Ardent Vanguard, the stars were more than just celestial ornaments. They were the battleground of an eternal conflict, a war fought not with fleets and weapons, but with time and memory. It had begun centuries ago. No one knew exactly when. The first hints came from anomalies in the fabric of space, rifts that appeared without warning and vanished just as quickly. Initially dismissed as rare cosmic events, these anomalies soon became too frequent and too distinct to ignore. They opened not just in the void, but within planetary systems, near space stations, and even in the orbit of once quiet colonies. Through them came fleeting glimpses of a realm that defied comprehension, landscapes of shifting light, cities suspended in luminous vapor, and beings of shimmering brilliance who seemed to move with purpose, but without form. The Galactic Coalition, humanity's unifying government, scrambled to make sense of the phenomena. Scientists called them the Veil, a threshold separating their known universe from another dimension, one that seemed to be in constant flux. But it wasn't until the disappearances started that the Veil became more than a scientific curiosity. Entire ships vanished without a trace. Colonies went silent. Expeditions into the Veil rarely returned, and those that did brought back fragmented data, cryptic images, and crew members who spoke in riddles. They whispered of a conflict older than time, fought between forces that had no name, no allegiance, and no end. They called it the Starlight Requiem, a battle whose echoes resonated through the Veil and into their own reality, drawing them in like moths to a flame. Captain Lena Corvin had never intended to be part of this. She was a career officer, rising through the ranks of the Coalition fleet with a reputation for level-headedness and tactical brilliance. But her command of the Ardent Vanguard, a state-of-the-art exploration cruiser, made her a prime candidate for a mission that few wanted to accept. The Coalition had detected a particularly stable rift near the Delphinus system, one that appeared to lead directly into the heart of the Veil. The Ardent Vanguard was tasked with investigating, gathering data, and, if possible, returning with answers. As the ship approached the rift, Lena stood on the bridge, her crew silently working at their stations. The rift was visible on the main view screen, a swirling mass of light and shadow that seemed to pulse in time with an inaudible rhythm. It was mesmerizing and unsettling all at once. "Helm, hold position," Lena ordered. "Activate the long-range scanners." "Aye, Captain," replied Lieutenant Reese, the ship's helmsman. He adjusted the controls, and the hum of the Vanguard's advanced sensor array filled the bridge. The ship's science officer, Commander Alina Farrow, leaned over her console, her brow furrowed in concentration. "We're picking up complex energy signatures," she reported. "Highly organized, unlike anything we've seen before. It's almost like a transmission, but not in any conventional sense." "Can you decipher it?" Lena asked. "I'm trying," Alina said, her fingers dancing across the controls. "But it's like translating a language that changes every time you think you've figured out a word." Lena's gaze remained fixed on the rift. "Keep at it. I want as much data as we can get before we consider going in." Hours passed, and the rift continued to swirl, its patterns growing more intricate, almost hypnotic. The crew worked tirelessly, compiling data and running simulations. Alina made some progress, identifying recurring sequences that suggested a form of communication. But just as she began to piece it together, the ship's proximity alarm blared. "Captain, we have incoming," Reese shouted. On the view screen, a smaller rift had opened nearby. From it emerged a shape unlike anything they'd seen before, a vessel of shifting light and translucent material. It moved without visible propulsion, gliding toward the Vanguard with deliberate intent. "Shields up," Lena ordered. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers." The alien vessel didn't fire, but its presence was enough to set the crew on edge. It circled the Vanguard, its form shimmering as though it existed in multiple dimensions at once. Alina studied it intently, her console overflowing with data streams.
"It's scanning us," she said.
"Its technology is far beyond ours. It's analyzing our systems, our weapons, even our life signs. Can you make contact?" Lena asked. "I can try," Alina said, patching the signal through to the ship's communication array. She sent a series of pulses matching the recurring sequences she'd identified earlier. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the alien vessel stopped circling. Its shimmering form coalesced into a more defined shape, almost like a spearhead of light, and it transmitted something back. Alina's console lit up with patterns and symbols. "It's responding. I think it's inviting us in." Lena's stomach tightened. She knew the risks. Every account of entering the Veil spoke of disorientation, time distortion, and psychological strain. Few who ventured and returned, and those who did were forever changed. But this was why they were here, to seek answers, to understand the Starlight Requiem and the forces that waged it. "Prepare the ship for entry," she said, her voice steady. "We're going in." The crew exchanged uneasy glances, but obeyed. The Vanguard's shields were reinforced, its systems synchronized to maintain stability. As the ship moved toward the rift, the alien vessel led the way, its shimmering light a guide through the unknown. As the Vanguard crossed the threshold, the universe changed. The bridge was bathed in a kaleidoscope of colors, the stars outside twisting and shifting into patterns that defied geometry. Time seemed to stretch and contract, seconds feeling like hours and hours like moments. The crew's voices sounded distant and distorted, as though they were speaking underwater. But within the chaos, there was clarity. The rift closed behind them, and the ship stabilized in a new realm, a realm of ethereal beauty and haunting serenity. The Veil was not empty. It was alive, filled with structures that pulsed with light, rivers of energy flowing between them. And amidst it all, the source of the Starlight Requiem became clear. In the distance, a colossal structure loomed. It was both a fortress and a monument, its surface etched with glowing runes that shifted and reformed in an endless dance. Surrounding it were entities of pure light, their forms reminiscent of the alien vessel that had guided them in. They moved with purpose, engaging in intricate patterns that seemed both choreographed and chaotic. Alina's voice broke through the awe. "Captain, we're receiving another transmission." "It's a warning." "From who?" Lena asked. "From the beings within that structure," Alina said. "They call themselves the Luminarch, and they claim to be the guardians of this realm. But they're not the only ones here. They're fighting something that's been here since the dawn of time." Lena's jaw tightened. This was the Starlight Requiem, the eternal conflict that echoed through the Veil. She had always thought of war as a human endeavor, driven by politics, greed, or ideology. But here, war was something primal, a cosmic struggle that transcended mortal understanding. "We need to know more," Lena said. "Can they communicate with us directly?" "I think so," Alina said. "But we have to approach carefully. They seem fragile in a way, like their existence is tied to the patterns they create." The Vanguard moved closer to the colossal structure, its shields humming as the energies of the Veil pressed against them. The light beings surrounding the fortress grew more active, their patterns shifting as the ship approached. It was as if they were preparing for something. As Lena gave the order to open communications, the bridge was flooded with light. A projection appeared before them, a luminous figure, humanoid in shape, but with an otherworldly radiance. Its voice was not a sound, but a presence that resonated in their minds. "We are the Luminarch," it said. "You have crossed the Veil and entered our domain. Why have you come?" "We seek understanding," Lena replied. "We've seen the rifts, heard the echoes of the conflict here. We want to know what's happening and how it affects our universe." The Luminarch paused, its light pulsing rhythmically. "You stand at the edge of the eternal conflict, a war fought not with weapons, but with the essence of existence itself. We guard the balance against the Voidborne, entities born from the collapse of stars. Their hunger is infinite, their presence anathema to creation." Lena's breath caught. The Voidborne, this was the enemy that the Starlight Requiem had warned of. She looked to Alina, who nodded grimly. "What can we do?" Lena asked. "How can we help?" The Luminarch's form shifted, its radiance growing dimmer. "To aid us is to risk your own destruction. But if you choose to stand with us, you must learn the patterns of the Veil, the harmonies that keep the Voidborne at bay. Only then can you help us maintain the balance."